Hey folks, welcome to Verified Investing. My name is Gareth Soloway, Chief Market Strategist here. In today's video, I want to take a look at gold. Gold again pushing up early today, but starting to show signals that it might be putting in a near-term top for a retrace. Remember, the key is I think gold goes up mid to long term and it continues to grind higher. But in the near term, it is getting extended. The commodity gold is now up over 10% from the lows just about 3 weeks ago. That's a big move for gold, folks. Again, we're not talking about crypto here, right? We're not talking about a hotbed stock. We're talking about gold. So a 10% move, it does make it overbought near term, and a retrace would be essentially normal for it. All right, let's dive into the chart here. One of the things that's catching my eye is the potential for a topping tail. All right, what is a topping tail? A topping tail is a reversal bearish signal on the daily chart here. It is not there yet. If it continues to sell any close today below 36.40 on this chart would give us a topping tail. All right, again, topping tails, you need a long tail on the top. It needs to be at recent highs. Obviously, if we zoom out, we know this is at recent and all-time highs, and it needs to be a close. If you take a look at this, the high of the candle here to the low of the candle, the close of the day must be in the lower 25%, which is right around here at 36.40. And so you can see right now we would not. We're above it just a little bit. But if we were to sell off a little bit more on gold, you would get a daily topping tail, which again, in technical analysis, is a bearish reversal signal. All right, next up, one of the things, and we'll annotate this chart and draw it up, we can see that we had a beautiful breakout here. There was a longer term wedge pattern, classic wedge pattern or bullish pattern. We did break to the upside pretty dramatically. And again, classic pattern formation after a big move up. This was your consolidation. And charts generally do this, guys. And again, important to understand, charts tend to make these type of moves where you get these big pushes, which again exhaust the chart. Think about it as if gold ran a marathon. And after a marathon, it needs to take a rest. It needs to consolidate. It needs to rejuvenate. And that's what bull flags essentially are doing. And when you get a wedge pattern, which is essentially, in this case, a bull flag, it's pretty simple. That's what it was doing. It was consolidating. It was gaining energy, refueling to make its next move up. And sure enough, that's exactly what we've seen here. All right, now another factor that I'm keeping an eye on, I'm going to erase these trend lines here. This was a new trend line discovery that I made. And what we could see right here is that you essentially have a trend line that if you connect these recent lows here, going back to April, the April low to the May low, it then becomes, it broke down, retraced here in early June, July, pulled back, retraced in late July, and then came back down, and look at where it's back to. And so the idea of technical analysis is that resistance and support is basically telling you something. And here it was support, right? Even right here. Then it broke down and it became resistance. And here was resistance right here and right here now. And so listen, a lot of us have predispositions to be bullish on gold. I certainly am among those people because I do believe that fiat currencies will be printed into nauseam and into infinity. And that makes gold obviously something that is precious and can hold value. But at the same time, we also have to respect resistance. And if resistance worked here and it worked here, who are we to say it won't work here? Now, could it fail and could we see it push above that? Absolutely. But the odds in the near term favor a short term pullback. Where is the key level of support on a pullback? Key level of support would be your former all-time high, which now was resistance over here. It now becomes support. And so you could look for a pullback to about 3,500 on gold. All right, that would be your first pullback level. Now, granted, it's all contingent on where gold closes. Right now, we've moved up a little. We're now $7 above 36.40. I want to see where this closes today. If it puts in a topping tail, look for a retrace back to the downside for a move south, essentially back to 3,500, which, by the way, percentage-wise isn't even that big of a retrace. In fact, speaking of which, let's actually look at that. What kind of retrace would that be in terms of a fib move? And if we take this move here, oh my goodness, look at that. It's almost exactly a 50% from the beginning of this breakup. the 50% fib is at 34.95. And I said 3,500. So $5 away from that. So that makes perfect sense. And again, listen, there's nothing that says it has to do that. I'm just speculating on where that pullback support would be. And it's interesting to think about that this move up, a 50% retrace, would bring us right back to our previous all-time high, which now acts as technical support. Very cool stuff, guys. Now, flipping over to silver. Silver has not been performing like gold. Yes, it broke out above this upsloping trend line here, but while gold has gone kind of vertical over the last few days, silver has just been chopping sideways. That's not good, right? And again, it's not to say silver can't catch up, but in general, the fact that gold has been going up and silver has been basically chopping sideways is a little bit of a negative, right? We all have to call a spade here, and that would not be what you would ideally like to see if you're long silver. Now, silver does still have support around $40, but again, it would just be a little nervousness here because if gold, let's say, pulls back to 3,500, does silver then pull back here and hold this $40 level, or does it potentially go lower? So we'll have to keep an eye on it. One other trend line on silver I'll be watching very, very closely is right here. And again, this would be a big level of support between $40 and $39. So again, I'll monitor that. And you can see that this was a former resistance line and it did break above. In general, I'm not big fans of ascending trend lines being broken above, but in this case it was. And again, so you have support right in this vicinity from $40 back to $39 on silver. All right. So that's where we are at this point in time. I will keep you guys in the loop on everything that I see. If I see it and I'm interested or I think it's important, I'm going to make sure that you know about it here. Again, remember, all charts, no BS here at verifiedinvesting.com. It's all about the data. Have a great one, guys. Thanks so much for tuning in.